Back to the river, draw me in the water. I just had what I can only describe as an unholy amount of pizza, and now I'm ready to talk about Foundation. Folks, let me tell you what I've been up to for the past month or so, okay? I've been watching this show on Apple TV called Foundation. And what I've discovered is how I would describe this show, which is if Game of Thrones was science fiction, but specifically the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones when it was very good. How do I explain this to you? This whole entire experience. The Foundation show is based on a book series by Isaac Asimov. Okay? And I wouldn't recommend reading it. I considered reading it because I started watching the show. I'm like, this show is great. This show is serving. This show is the tea with the honey on top. And so then I looked into the books and I found out, oh, the show's a bit more based on the books as opposed to a direct copy of the books, and with good reason. The show adds a lot of really good stuff. The point of this video is to talk about Foundation, but the real point of this video is to talk about Lee Pace. Lee Pace is in this show, and he plays Brother Day. Brother Day, you take my breath away. Brother Day, the way that you do, the way that you are, Brother Day. What do you want me to say right now? Watch the show. This is what it's like watching Foundation, right? You gotta watch the first episode just to kind of maybe get a grasp of what's even happening, because it is a lot. This is a show that spans a lot of time, and it doesn't explain it to you very particularly. You kind of gotta figure it out. And it's one of these shows where every episode that I watched for like the first 3 or 4 episodes, the episode would end and I would be like, all right, now I've got this figured out. Only for the next episode to take me in a completely different direction, and I would be like, what? What just happened here? That's freaking awesome. And here's the thing. I know that y'all have your Apple TV subscriptions. I know that because everybody's watching Ted Lasso. Everybody's trying to be Ted Lasso core, but not me. Here's how I happened to decide to watch Foundation. I randomly decided with my family, mostly my brother, we should rewatch those Hobbit films. We haven't watched those Hobbit films since they first came out, and we hated them. We were massive haters. But that was the era when I was a hater. I was hating on every movie that came out back then. The Star Wars trilogy that came out, hated it. Those Hobbit movies, hated them. I started hating on Marvel movies back at that time. Everything was an excuse for me to be like a film critic and sit down and be like, so here's why everything was wrong with that movie. And it was a really toxic time in my life. So I thought to myself, I should rewatch these Hobbit movies and give them a chance. But also screw that guy who plays the Hobbit, because that guy is mad cringe. I call him Dopey. Get eviscerated, my dude. What happened to me was, I love those Hobbit films. Have y'all been watching those the whole time? I'm one of those guys who every few years decides to sit down and watch Lord of the Rings again. Now I'm one of those guys who's like, shoot, if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna have to watch 6 movies now. Because, oh, there's that pizza again. And here's the thing about these Hobbit films. The King of the Elves guy, that's Lee Pace. That beautiful man with the long blonde hair who gets into his little fight with Thorin, the Dwarf King, and they're secretly into each other, but also Thorin is into the Hobbit. Oh, really good movies. Anyways, Lee Pace. I just fell in love with that man. And I thought to myself, I need more. I need more Lee Pace. I went down a TikTok rabbit hole where I was watching behind the scenes footage of Lee Pace on the Hobbit movies. And from that, I saw a clip of Lee Pace in Foundation. And that was like, because I had Foundation written down as like something maybe I should watch at one point, and then I had crossed it off the list because I was like, do I really need to watch that? But grasping the fact that Lee Pace is in it completely shifted my perspective, and I sat my my hindquarters down and I viewed this show, and it's so good. All thanks to Brother Day, the Empire. Brother Day, he's one of those characters, right? He's got all these planets under his rule. He's a dictator. He's cruel and inhuman, and also I would do anything for him. He has that kind of power over me, which is obviously scary. I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my goodness, well, that's another atrocity on the list of atrocities he's committed, but my goodness, would I just serve this man. He's just that good. That's the thing, is you watch it and you like, it's like, yes, he's a tyrant, but like deep down, this is a good man that we're dealing with. You know, he's just lost. I could save him. I will also say, as a side note, I also watched Bodies, Bodies, Bodies because Lee Pace was in that. And let me tell you, he is once again just an absolute saint in that as well. He always plays the hero. He always plays the good guy. He's always the star of the show. My gosh. Okay, to get back to like the meat of this show, which is all of this different stuff going on, all these different characters and things happening, and it's just good. I think that the message that I want to get across to you is that you should check out the show Foundation. Season 2 just finished. And the finale for season 2 is just completely and utterly deranged. You have a duty to watch the show Foundation to figure out what it is that I'm talking about, which is Brother Day in all of his glory and his sweetness. I need my legacy to be that I freaked out about Lee Pace in the show Foundation, even though the more important thing is that you grasp how good the show Foundation actually is. My legacy dictates that I be the guy who fanboys over Lee Pace. And that's the point of all of this. The universe is so huge, trillions upon trillions of galaxies, and we are so small, little itty bitty. And yet we came to be so that we could have this moment. Lee Pace. Okay, fine. I will explain the premise. There's this guy, he's like a number scientist, man, and he's figured out through something called psychohistory how to determine what's going to happen with these mass populations, and he's predicting the fall of the universe and like a period of darkness, and he's trying to warn Empire, and Empire's like, what are you talking about? Leave me alone. Foundation is the group of like scientists and people who go to this planet. Basically, they're like preserving all of the knowledge of humanity. That's kind of the idea of Foundation. And then you go on the ride of your life across 2 seasons of mad, crazy television. And I like Lee Pace. It's a good show. I've started watching the show Ahsoka. Maybe I can do one of these videos about Ahsoka after this one. Please leave a comment and let me know if you would watch that or if you care even about this. If you've seen Foundation, leave a comment and be like, he's right. He is cooking. He's right about Lee Pace. Yeah. Right. As a way of thanking me for making this video, which you've just sat through, I believe that you are now required to like, comment, and subscribe to the video. If you're already subscribed, I expect you to subscribe again. Please, even just a comment or a like or a subscribe would be great. All right, you can comment that you hate Foundation. I wouldn't understand it, but I would get it. I would get that like, oh, they're leaving a comment because I asked them to. I would get that part of it. I really wouldn't. I would probably delete that comment, actually. Goodbye. Thank you. Wow. Lee Pace, if you're hearing this, whoa.